You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Shemesh Israel, 5780, 2020. This week's Parsha is Parsha Acharei-Kedoshim. And in our Parsha, we have an important topic, which I would like to discuss. We read it every year. Acharei-Mos, we read on Yom Kippur. We read about the avoda, which is the obvious connection to Yom Kippur. We read about the avoda of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, on Yom Kippur. And we also read about the forbidden sexual relationships that the Torah tells us we are to steer clear of. These were things, these averos, the sins involved in the forbidden relationships, were those that were done by the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians, the Canaanites, those people. And it was for that reason that they were destroyed. We'll see soon in the Medrash that this is an important idea that we need to understand. It's especially shaykh, it especially applies to our times, an amazing connection to what's going on in the world right now. And it's important for us to understand the deep severity of these things. And it's important for us to understand how we can save ourselves from a decadent society that surrounds us. What can we do to overcome our personal Yetzer Hara, our personal evil inclination? What can we do to face off with this nisayon, especially in our times when we're all confined to our homes, and certainly in certain ways the Yetzer Hara for these things is even stronger. So I'd like to address that, I'd like to talk about it, I'd like to read from the Medrash some amazing things that the Medrash says. I would never have said such a thing myself, but the Medrash says it, so we have to take it seriously. We have to know that this is really an important idea, and it's very much connected to what's going on in the world. Okay, Medrash says like this: Tani Rabbi Shmuel, Kamas Eretz Mitzrayim, Kamas Eretz Canaan, lo ta'asu. The pasuk tells us very clearly. The verse tells us in Perek Yud Ches pasuk Gimel that we are not to do like the nations around us, the nations of Egypt, like we said, and the nation of Canaan. They were known for their moral decadence, their lack of spirituality, their lack of self-control in the areas of promiscuity. And the Torah tells us we are not to do like them. We are not to be like them. We are not to behave like them. And the pasuk finishes off in pasuk Dalet and says, "Vim lav ani Hashem lekechem." I am Hashem your God. Now, whenever the verse tells us, "Ani Hashem lekechem," I am Hashem your God, the Torah is telling us that God is making a statement. I am God. I know what's going on. I know what's going on in your hearts. And there are serious implications for this type of behavior. That's what the Torah is telling us. Important to know. Tani Rabbi Chia, Lama ani Hashem ksiv shnei pam. Rabbi Chia says, why does it say in the verse twice, I am Hashem? Ani hu shaparati midor hamabul u'misudayim u'mitzrayim. The Torah is telling us that I am the one. There's a statement, there's a doubling of the language. Hashem says, I am Hashem, I am your God. Why is he saying it twice? It's to underscore something. I'm the one who paid the Egyptians, they were punished. The Canaanites were punished. And the people of Sodom were punished. The Sodomites, they are well known for their evil behavior in this specific area. And Ani asli parmi mishu oisek masem. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I did it then, and I'm going to do it in the future. There's going to be a payment for those who behave in the way of the Sodomites, those who behave in the way of Mitzrayim, in decadent behavior in this area. Says in Medrash, what was the reason why the Dor HaMabul, the generation of the flood, why were they wiped away? It was because they were involved in illicit behavior, in illicit sexual behavior. Amar Reb Simloi, Kol makom shata moitzi znus andar lamusia ba la'olam v'hireges tayvim v'roim. Says the Medrash something which should give us a shiver. It should scare us. Wherever you find that there is a concept of znus, wherever you find that people are involved in illicit behavior, in incorrect behavior, andar lamusia ba la'olam. What is andar lamusia? It comes to the world. What comes to the world? B'lashon Yevani hereg u'magevas anashim, says the Eitz Yosef. Plagues come into the world. Why do plagues come into the world? Says the Medrash. Because of illicit sexual behavior. And the Medrash says something which gives us pachad pchadim v'hireges tayvim v'roim. It comes into the world and it kills those who are good and those who are bad. Meaning it's something that comes into the world and it's indiscriminate. It brings the evil behavior of those who have done wrong. It's very interesting. We look at what the world has blamed China for not being responsible in regard to the coronavirus. We understand that that there's a responsibility that we have in physical matters, in health matters. That's true. That if someone is irresponsible in one part of the world, it can have an effect on the entire world. Something that we're witnessing with our very eyes. This is not just true in regards to something physical, it's true in regards to something spiritual. And therefore, we need to know that there's a tremendous responsibility that we have. At least to protest, to make a clear protest, this is not okay with us, to pray that it shouldn't continue, and to not live in places where this type of behavior is out of hand. Terrible thing the Medrash says. Rav Huna b'shem Rav Yosi Amar Dor Hamabel Lo Nimchu Min Ha'olam Ela Al Yedei Shekasu Goymosius L'Zachav V'Narkev. Listen to this unbelievable statement of the Medrash. Why was the generation of the flood destroyed? Because they had legalized homosexual marriage. That's what it says. They used to give out. They used to write ksuvas. They used to write documents of marriage in Tayeva relationships. That's what it says in the Medrash. So, this might not have to do with all of us, and we think, what does this have to do with me? We're going to get to understanding what this has to do with us. Because this is not just about that type of quote-unquote marriage. It's not just about living in a society where that's okay. And it's not just about that idea per se. It's also about a general approach, a general understanding, a general feeling. And what do we allow ourselves? What's okay for us? Is our relationship focused, as the Torah wants us, exclusively on our spouse, exclusively on that which is permitted? Or are we involved in areas which are not permitted? That's the question. And it has a tremendous ramification for ourselves, but not just for ourselves personally, but also for all of those around us, because it spreads like a plague. That's what the Medrash is saying. Rabbi Azari b'shem Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Simon, Rabbi Shuban Levi b'shem Bar Kapora. Says Rabbi Azari in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Simon, and Rabbi Shuban Levi in the name of Bar Kapora. Matzinu shal hakol HaKadosh Baruch Hu marich rucho chutz min aznus bilvad. Says the Medrash, a very difficult thing. Hashem has patience for everything. Hashem has patience for everything. Every avera. But not znus. But not when it comes to illicit, the area that we're speaking about, these illicit relations. Right? This area Hashem doesn't have patience. V'isle kroin sagin shenem ravihiki heichel ha'adam v'yiru b'nei ha'elohim es b'nois ha'adam v'yar Hashem ki rabba ros ha'adam v'yem Hashem emches ha'adam. The verse refers to, in regards to the Dor Mabel, the generation of the flood, refers to the illicit relations that they were having in those times. And Hashem said, there's too much, it's too much evil going on here. He didn't have patience. And that was the end. I'm going to destroy them. Sidomim, Rabbi Shuban Levi, b'shem Rakapara Omar. The people of Sodom, who also were known for their illicit relations, that was the thing. That was the thing that caused their destruction. Amar Kol Oisei Alayla HaYaloit Aymin B'Davar Aleim Senegaria. Lot was trying to pray on the behalf of the people of Sodom. He lived there. Avram couldn't succeed, but Lot lived there. He understood the people. And he was trying to prevent the destruction of Sodom. What happened? The people of Sodom came and they were knocking on the door of Lot, and they said, where are those people that you let into your house? We're going to know them. What does it mean to know them? It means that they wanted to have illicit relations, the men with the men, Mishkav Zachar, right? Because they said that was the end. At that moment, that was the end. That's when the Malachim said, we got to get out of here. Hashem is going to destroy this place. There was an opportunity until this moment to prevent the destruction of Sodom. But the moment that they came and they said that this is how we're going to treat the guests, that's the end. Bring the people, your daughters, their husbands, we're going to destroy. Ani Hashem, says Hashem, Ani Hashem, Ani Hu Shenifrati Mishimsha Ne'amna Mizimri. All right, one more statement here before we get to the tikkun, before we get to the resolution. How do we face off with this area? How do we face off with this area? How do we deal with this? One more comment of the Medrash. The Medrash says, I'm the one who paid Shimshon and Anan and Zimri. These were three people who were known. Shimshon had gone after his eyes, and he married a woman from the Plishtim, a Plishti woman. Amnon had illicit relations with his sister. Zimri had illicit relations with a Midianite princess. I'm the one who paid them off. They were destroyed. They were destroyed as a result of their involvement in illicit relations. I'm going to, in the future, says Hashem, pay back those who do like they do. But on the other side of it, says the Medrash, an amazing thing, and this is so important to understand, this is such an important tool in combating this Yetzer Hara. How do we face off with the Yetzer Hara? I'm the one who paid Joseph, Yael, and Palti ben Laish. These three were known for their stalwart standing up to the Yetzer Hara and not giving in, being firm in their conviction, being firm in their commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do what is right in this area. Hashem says, I paid them, they received their just reward. Yosef, because of his greatness, he became the leader of the tribes through his facing off with this terrible challenge. Yael and Palti, each of them received their just reward. So I'm also going to pay reward for those who do like they do. Yosef minayin, Amar Mishimon ben Gamliel. How do we know that Yosef was paid back for his overcoming his Yetzer Hara in this area, for overcoming Yetzer Hara for Znus? Yosef mishalei nasnu. The Medrash tells us that Yosef, he received each of the things that Paro did. Piv shalei nashak ba'aver, his mouth didn't kiss in a way which was forbidden. Al picha yishak kol ami. So Paro said, with your lips, all of the nation will kiss. Based on what you say, with your lips, that's what the people will do. And he goes through the list, each of the different parts of his body that weren't involved in the sin, they received their just reward because he held himself back. He became the leader. And all of those limbs that could have done the sin and didn't, they were rewarded through his being appointed as the leader of Egypt and ultimately the leader of the Jewish people. The true leaders of the Jewish people, the true leaders, we're not just talking about on a level of the entire Jewish people, but it's true in our families. If we want to be a leader of our family, we want to be an example for our children, we want to be an example for our community. We need to know that this is an essential component of who we are. Are we committed to what the Torah demands of us? Are we committed to the purity that Hashem expects of us? To the degree that we are committed, we indeed are going to receive siyata d'shmaya. And this is in a very powerful way of dealing with the Yetzer Hara. Number one, and we're going to see that there are the two or three things I'm going to offer you to work on, to think about in our time, how to face off with this Yetzer Hara, because this Yetzer Hara is it has decimating effects. It brings about plagues. Good and bad people are lost in these plagues. Why? Because of a lack of morality in our society that we have to face off with, that we have to make sure that we ourselves are pure. We move away from those societies to a place where indeed we are safe from this moral decadence. Yosef had that. We can recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives tremendous reward. And I want to tell you that I know personally of a story of somebody. I can't say any details about this story, but I can tell you I know the story personally of somebody who indeed had tremendous siyata d'shmaya, tremendous divine assistance. Openly Hashem showed this person that he was in his life in a way that was unbelievable. Constantly, when this person decided to break from his old ways in this area, he got tremendous siyata d'shmaya, miraculous help, constantly, as a result of breaking from his previous ways in this area. And I want to say that one of the things that we can do, we can make a deal, so to speak, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I've discussed this with my Rosh Yeshiva. But it's possible to make a deal, to take something which is very hard, and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I am going to I've spoken about this in the past, but I'm going to have self-restraint in this area. I'm going to be Kaddish to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to be pure. And in exchange, I want you to grant health to my family. I want you to give parnasa to my family. I want you to give livelihood. And we have to be careful with this. And I want to qualify what I'm saying. We can use such a thing. We find that such a thing is mentioned in the Gemara. The Gemara tells us, person who says, I want to give this tzedakah. He's doing a hard thing. It's hard to give tzedakah. I want to give this money, says the person, in order that his son should live. I guess his son is sick. It's considered a righteousness. Why, says the Gemara? If a non-Jew does this, it doesn't work. It's not good. Why? Because if a Jew does this, and so to speak, Hashem doesn't fulfill his side of the bargain. So the Jew says, obviously, it's my problem. I did something wrong. I don't deserve it. But someone who's not connected in that way, someone who doesn't have that spiritual background, so he'll blame it on God. So it's not a good thing. But a Jew, when we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I am going to do this thing on a condition, that you do a certain thing for me, so to speak. So it's permitted to do such a thing. And of course, we need to have in mind that I want to do this thing relevant if HaKadosh Baruch Hu indeed gives me that thing that I want. But there is such an idea of making a deal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's also true in other areas. I've heard stories about a young woman who was a little bit older and she hadn't yet gotten met her chassan, the person she was supposed to marry, and she made a commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She said, Hashem, I want to have met my chassan within a year, and I'm going to take on a certain mitzvah to always read the benching, to say the blessings of Birkas HaMazon from a siddur, always read it from a siddur. And she was completely committed to that. And indeed, within a year, she found her chassan, the one who she would end up marrying. So there is such a thing. It's a very powerful thing to do, and it's something that works. And I want to read it to you. And the Medrash says a similar idea. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Shleishein shetakav yitzron aleim v'nishbu lei. Rabbi Yossi says that there are three people who their Yetzer Hara had made inroads into them. They were very close to sinning. And what did they do? They made an oath. They swore. They used the power of an oath. And of course, you need to be very careful. I'm not encouraging that a person should make an oath, but certainly we can make a commitment, a powerful commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we can perhaps make a commitment together with somebody else. Two people working together. I'm committed to you and you're committed to me, and we compare notes and we discuss things and we're open and we're honest. We talk about where we've fallen. We talk about where we've triumphed. It's a very powerful thing. It doesn't have to be a shvuah, but the idea of a shvuah, of an oath or a neder, is the powerful commitment that is possible to make to ourselves, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to God, and we can do it with others as well. Yosef, David, Boaz, these three individuals, these three great tzaddikim were able to make this commitment. They swore, they made an oath, and through that oath, they were able to overcome the Yetzer Hara, their evil inclination. They were able to overcome against tremendous odds. Yosef's, the way Chazal explain it, the challenge that Yosef endured, that he had to go through with Potiphar's wife, was tremendous. It was almost impossible. He was almost there giving in, and yet he was able to overcome it. How? Through an oath. Yosef minam shenemar ve'ech esa hara ha'gedola. How can I do such a great thing? Sinning to God. It doesn't say, and I shall sin to Hashem. It says, I shall sin to Elokim. Elokim is a language of a shvuah. He made an oath to his Yetzer Hara, to his evil inclination. And he said, I shall not do this thing. He made a complete, absolute commitment, a real commitment. There is such a thing as making a true and deep commitment to ourselves, to our God, to our Yetzer, to our evil inclination. And amazingly, the Yetzer Hara, he steps back. You know, you see such a thing, you see this thing all the time. Regular people, all the time, do such a thing. You know what it's called? It's called Shabbos. Shabbos, we have a commitment. And there are people who, even though they smoke during the whole entire week, when it comes to Shabbos, the commitment to Shabbos is so strong, they don't even have a Yetzer Hara to smoke a cigarette on Shabbos. have a friend who I know he smokes, a neighbor of mine, and he told me that when it comes to Shabbos, usually during the week, when you smoke, so you have a good fat meal, it makes you want to smoke more. You have a coffee, it makes you want to smoke. But on Shabbos, even you have a big meal, you have a fat coffee, doesn't make him want to smoke. The commitment, the deep commitment to Shabbos is so much stronger than the Yetzer Hara. Amazing thing. This is what you see in this medrash. So I want to bring across 2 points. One is creating a deep commitment to ourselves, and it can be for a certain amount of time, let's say for 30 days or a week, whatever it is, and it can be renewed, or even for a day. It can be for one day. Powerful. And what does Hashem say? Hashem says, I promise you, if you are committed in this area, I promise you that you will be raised up. You will have tremendous siyata d'shmaya. In all areas, you'll have tremendous siyata d'shmaya, and you will protect yourselves. You will protect yourselves from the plagues that, heaven forbid, can come and they can kill good and bad. A person has the power, and also the person has the power through making sure to be living in a place. If you live in a place where it's shtufei zima, the society around you is terrible, you got to be goyla makom tahara. Right? Really, Chazal say have a goyla makom Torah, but I'm saying have a goyla makom tahara. You need to come to a place. Come to Eretz Yisrael. It's the great. Of course. There's Western civilization around us here as well, but it's a different level. It's a different place. It's a different level of kedusha. It's a different level of striving for Yiddishkeit, for striving for spirituality, striving to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So those are the ideas, and I want to bless you and ask you to bless me. Hashem should help us, that we should be able to recognize the places in our lives that aren't where we want them to be. Hashem should help us to be able to make a deep and strong commitment to use the kli, the vessel, the tools, whether it's making a strong commitment or whether it's using that commitment alongside other people, whether it's recognizing the great siyata d'shmaya that a person can receive, or whether it's making a deal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, consciously understanding that I want to do this good thing whether or not I get what I want, so to speak. But creating a deal, using these tools, there's so many tools that we can use to strengthen ourselves in this area. And it's such an important area, such that we read it on Yom Kippur. We read on the holiest day of the year because it's the most essential, perhaps, idea that we need to connect to, especially in dark and difficult times. So I want to bless you. As we've said, Hashem should help us in this area, and we should be able to be committed in this area to do what's right, to strengthen ourselves, to connect to the different tools at our disposal. There's also 12-step groups that deal with this type of area. There's the Guard Your Eyes website, which is a very powerful tool that also includes the 12 steps. I encourage you all to think about this topic, to focus on this topic, to strengthen ourselves in this area, because it is so essential. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.